again, and welcome to our podcast, episode number 2, MGLuxM. And today's topic of the podcast is who is consuming luxury in India? Who is the Indian luxury consumer? And I have with me here a very, very special friend of mine. I've known her for years now, has been working in the industry for over a decade, has been imparting education to our wonderful MGLuxM students, and I couldn't be happier to have anyone else rather than her, Grishma Desai. Grishma, I'll allow you to introduce yourself to our wonderful audiences.
Thank you, Smita, for such a warm welcome. My name is Grishma Desai. Like you said, I've been working with Onitsuka Tiger right now as a country head. I've been with business for about 4 years, and prior to that, I've been working with luxury businesses like Shantanu and Nikhil in India. I've worked with chemistry. I've worked with Localizing. Worked with Launch Plan for Bath and Body Works. So been in the industry in India for about a little over a decade. But I've also worked in the US for brands like French Connection, yes, Bath and Body Works.
Wow,
And so,
I mean the list can keep going.
yes, so I've worked a lot in the industry, and it's just my passion.
So how has it been? I mean, even for our audiences, they'd be really eager to know, like from Shantanu Nikhil to Bath and Body Works to La Senza to now Onitsuka Tiger. You've catered to all types of brands, all types of consumer segments. So how can you share a little bit about that as well?
Sure. So of course each sector is different. But when it comes to the crux of retail, you pretty much see a lot of similarities on the consumers, how they are shopping. You see a lot of overlays. You see a lot of consumer behaviors being similar. It's just the sectors are different. But how consumers are buying in India, how consumers are consuming goods in India, where they're consuming and how they're consuming. It's like an overlay from one sector to the other. Of course, I have passion for footwear. I've always loved footwear. I started my career in footwear as a sales associate from ground up. And I've always been even coaching students when I teach, start from scratch, learn from scratch. You get to know your purpose, you get to identify and build your own individuality when you are working in multiple fields and starting from scratch as well. So, yeah.
Before we start getting into the podcast topic, because you spoke about, start from the ground up, and you spoke about passion and, those keywords, which I always keep harping on when I'm talking to students. What is the one common thing that you see today in our industry where you feel that India as a market, we all know, is growing a lot, and in terms of the brands stepping into the industry, that aspect we know that in the next 10 years it's going to expand and boom. So do you see a gap that brands are coming, business is booming, but I'm not getting the right talent, or I'm not getting the right passion, or I'm not getting the right dedication from the Gen Z, from the Gen. What is missing in your opinion?
So I definitely think it's the acceptance of the talent in India when it comes to luxury or working for luxury industry. And I think the lack comes from the exposure of what we've had of luxury historically. So for luxury for us, it's fairly new when it comes to international brands.
Yes.
But it's been around for us. Luxury in general has been around for
hundreds
us
for
hundreds of years. So it's just the international luxury brands that we are experiencing new. And I think the talent that reaches on selling, or how to sell the product, or how to consume the product, that's the link is missing, because I think the team's not trained well to accept that.
And I think this is a topic that I'm definitely going to be doing a different podcast with you on, where we'll be talking about talent training and how important it is. And we can't keep, it's not been enough spoken about. I think we need to keep talking about that, and we need to keep discussing this, and what are the pain areas. As a person who's working in the industry, what are your pain areas when you're interviewing candidates who are from the Gen Z, Gen Y, category? Now coming more towards our podcast topic, because I know our audiences want to know about the typical Indian consumer. So is there a typical Indian consumer in your opinion, and who is this typical Indian consumer, or are there many typical Indian consumers? So I leave you to discussing that a little bit more.
Sure. So of course we have many typical or atypical Indian consumers, and we have many types of customers and consumers. So here, majority of the time, some of us don't realize that the customer and consumer are two different people.
Even I didn't know. What do you mean by customer and consumer?
So customer, you have to think from the perspective who's purchasing from your stores, or customers are the person who are making the purchase, versus a consumer is the one with the end use and how they use it, product.
Okay.
And these are two different people. You have customers who could be a husband buying a ring for a wife. The ring
So that's
is
the
consumer.
customer,
That's
and
the
the
customer.
wife is the consumer.
Wife is consumer.
Okay,
So
got it.
most of us sometimes don't realize who we are
Yeah.
selling.
Yeah.
And we end up, representing our brand and marketing campaigns in a very different way than we should.
Yeah.
Because first we need to know who our customer is, and then we also need to know who our consumer is.
Consumer.
And once we know and we identify these, it's a lot easier.
So as a
lot
brand,
simpler.
are you giving more importance to your customer, or are you giving more importance to your consumer?
Both. So we, as a brand, Onitsuka Tiger, we do have a massive collection for kids.
Okay.
Of course, the 8-year-old is not my customer, but definitely my consumer. So we spend a lot of time on how we reach out to that consumer
Yes.
and how we reach out to that customer first before the child
The child.
wears the footwear. You also have to understand our stores are not designed for kids. We are not Hamleys, we are not a children's store. So how we design our stores for the customer and the consumer to entertain themselves at the same time in the store as well. But
Could you give us some? Could you elaborate
Sure.
more on that?
Sure. So our we are a Japanese brand. So
Yeah.
a very clean, minimal brand. There are not a lot of elements that the kids can play inside the store with. You have couches and you have shelves and you have mid fixtures and there's footwear on it. So very boring for kids.
Pretty straightforward.
Very straightforward. Very boring for kids, but adults, the customers who are purchasing it, it's straightforward for them enough to select the collection for kids and then leave the store. So it's important how we design these stores, like clean visibility, minimal, less props, less confusion. So that's important, and that's how we've been designing for kids. Then you have men's, and then you have women. Women like pretty things, men like straightforward things. So you have to also keep that in mind of how we design our stores or how we represent different genders in the store as well. So we pay attention to both consumer and customer. Of course, the customer is your first point of contact, then the consumer is. So that is equally and critically important. Consumer is in our mind when we are discussing of campaigns, especially how the marketing campaigns are done, how the product is, the product
The design,
development,
the
the design is
features.
extremely important for consumers.
How important is packaging, you think, for
Very.
Indian customers?
Very important because it is directly linked to experiential exit of the store.
Like if I'm giving a gift, I want the box to also be a certain way. That's
Yes.
what it is,
Yes.
right?
So gifting is a big industry for us as well. Especially when it comes to holidays. Not in India as much for Christmas or holidays, but Diwali is big gifting, weddings big gifting. We do have a lot of gifting, especially luxury. Like we.
So when you say wedding, so
Yeah.
like people are giving Onitsuka Tigers as a wedding gift as well?
Depends on glitter, shimmer.
Oh wow!
And
We've seen a lot of brides in
Yeah.
sneakers these days. I mean,
Yes.
that's a thing for sure.
Yeah. So what happens is the gifting happens. It's not for the wedding purpose, but during the wedding time. So the groom's gifting the bride or the bride's gifting groom, and now we coordinate our outfits. It's not like back in the day where
Yeah,
we go
everything's
whatever,
hidden.
like, I'm my way, you're your way, and wear whatever you guys want to wear. We are actually coordinating our outfits,
Absolutely.
and we are trying to coordinate maybe not the theme, but at
I'm
least
just because
concept.
I remember a time when my grandmom, I wanted to gift a shoe to my elder sister, and my grandmother actually told me you can't gift a shoe to your elder sister because it's a bad omen.
Yes.
So I was very intrigued to know that who are these people who are gifting shoes during weddings and in and around weddings as well, because that means that I'm not that old, so we've come a long way from there to here.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, I think, which is fantastic.
Yes.
So yeah, tell us more about gifting and the concept of gifting and how does it work. And
Yeah, so for footwear category, we've had people buying footwear for trousers too. You
Yeah.
have to, and
Yes.
now we are making our outfits. It's not just the same outfit you wear and the same
Yeah.
footwear you wear. You are transitioning and you're changing throughout the day.
Yes.
And people are changing from their heels to sneakers to be more comfortable. Sangeets used to end at 2 a.m. Now they're ending at 5 a.m. But
Yeah.
not wear heels all
All
night.
night, yeah,
So cocktails are long hours as
Absolutely.
well. People are changing from ethnic attires
Yes.
to casual. Sometimes they're pajamas. So footwear has fit in quite well.
Yes.
And from a brand's perspective, we also have a lot of athleisure, joggers, sweat tops. So people are changing to that, and then that trousseau is building up better. Gifting of sweat tops, it's your airport looks. It's very big item as well. So going on honeymoon or transitioning or traveling is turning into gifting as well. So it's becoming a big market. But apart from that, you do have other sectors gifting in India. We've had silver, we've had gold. Not international brands as much, but that gifting's been there for generations for us.
Yeah.
Wedding and non-wedding both. So I think gifting's big. Gifting's always going to remain big.
True.
I think the next big category in business or luxury gifting is becoming cosmetics and skincare.
Yeah.
Self-care is a very big category. And newer brands, not legacy brands, but new brands like, for example.
So I mean, if we talk about like beauty as a sector, and since you mentioned that beauty is becoming one of the biggest categories in India, even for gifting and otherwise also, I think people are spending more on beauty, self-care, hygiene products after COVID. So could you give me some understanding of the breakdown? If we can, let's see how much details we can go into for the sake of understanding of our audiences.
Sure.
But if we go into beauty, and if we say that beauty is about, there's self-care, there's gifting, there's maybe occasional wear, because I think for me, I buy certain things which I use every day. I buy certain things which I use when I'm going out. Products I'm talking about, and I purchase certain products when I have to gift them to a friend or a loved one. So I have three categories. One is everyday use, like whether it's my perfume, whether it's my skincare regime, whether it's my beauty. When I'm coming to office, I wear different products. When I'm going out, so how is it like in your experience?
I think it is like you said, partially like people are categorizing gifting for personal care. Gifting for yourself, like self-care, or gifting for other people. People are categorizing that. But that said, it's people are purchasing at first, or when people are consuming this themselves. They're not going with the purpose of buying for somebody else or something. They are purchasing it, and they're also utilizing for gifting as well. So there's a combination of both. You have people who go specially for gifting or purchasing for gifting, and there are people who are collecting these and then utilizing this. So you have consumers who are buying them in bulk, the consumers who have buying in categories, and then consumers who are buying for the occasion. But cosmetic is also a tricky gifting process, because now when you're gifting, you're not actually gifting somebody a foundation.
You can't.
Gifting,
You can't.
So you're gifting, and you're probably gifting lip color, but it's mostly the skincare in the cosmetic industry at the moment, which is doing really well as second.
And even I would say fragrances, perfumes, skincare. And which are, in your opinion, which could be the next big brands to watch out for in this industry? We have to talk particularly about beauty industry.
I think Forest Essentials is really fabulous. You have Kama, Ayurveda is also doing quite well. In fact, Ayurveda is becoming the next big thing, coming from Western culture, even though it's grown in our roots. Western cultures are adapting Ayurveda really, really well right now. They're shifting this whole sustainability, organic, everything plant grown. So Ayurveda is a very, very good, big skincare to look out for. There are beautiful brands right now, like Abati Suzy, who's doing a fabulous job, Ranawat is doing a fabulous job, and they both are going to be available or partially available at Sephora already in India. And these brands are science-based, Ayurveda-based, history-based.
I've seen a lot of that also, like on startup websites. A lot of these brands wanting to talk about science, but at the same time Ayurveda. So that's like the next. I can already see that in the next 5 years, 10 years. That's going to be the next big thing. Like, you're not a perfect skincare brand if you're not balancing both. Apart from, so we spoke about a little bit about footwear, we spoke about beauty. Let's talk about fashion. So I think I'm always going to come back to myself, because I always try to see myself first as a consumer and then try to see what others are doing. But if I talk about fashion, I think handbags and footwear are the most exploited categories within the luxury fashion segment. What's your take on that? What do you think? How do you think India is consuming luxury fashion, are they consuming more of a particular segment within that? Because it's a very big, I would say, sector. You have accessories, you have handbags, you have apparel, a lot of things. So how is it?
So I mean, when you say fashion is like a vast term, like you said, it is from handbag, footwear,
sunglasses,
everything, opticals, eyewear, hair clips, hair bands, and anything and everything you can name it. But it's a good segue from the initial conversation we were having of who the customer is, and I think the sectors define who the customer is as well.
Yes.
If you're talking about in India at the moment, you look at a lot of consumers and customers both are the younger lot who's buying luxury.
Yes.
And the younger lot is buying into luxuries because people who had money from legacy, they have been exposed to luxury way at earlier age than the actual consumers and customers that they are consuming luxury today. So in India, you're looking at a lot of young customers, a lot of young professionals who had their first jobs and the second jobs, and
with good packages.
With good packages, and their first job, they are escalating their careers also fast. Like it's not like before where you started a company, you started at a job and you were there for 10 years. They are moving faster. They're moving from one job to the other job at a much faster rate. So their disposable incomes are also much higher than that to what our generation or previous generation has seen. And when you do that, the aspiration for them to buy luxury starts at a early age.
Yes.
With the money that they've earned.
Yeah.
So they're not buying into the expensive handbags right away.
Yeah.
They're buying into the smaller luxury goods.
Yeah.
They're consuming those luxury goods, adapting and building that style first. That kind of lifestyle first. Then they're moving to different sector. Then once you have that, they're moving into better dining, better vacations, better way of flying, better airlines.
Slowly.
And then they're going into the higher fashion products. They're moving into the handbags, and they're moving into the footwear, then they're moving into apparel. In this sector, unfortunately, in this sector currently in India, the luxury consumption is still into your accessories, footwear, fragrances, and beauty. Apparel is there, but it's also apparel luxury consumption in India is from customers who see luxury.
I do not.
From the legacy money.
Yeah, but otherwise it's more of your accessories.
Yes.
As you said, sunglasses, bags. And I mean, as you spoke about the consumers and you did speak about salaries and you spoke about lifestyle, I also think that lifestyle has a big part to play in this, because I think that the spending habits are so and so because of the saving habits. They don't have it. There are no saving habits anymore. It's not about okay, I have this is my salary, this is what I'm earning, this is what I save, and this is what I have left to spend. It's about, this is my salary, this is what I'm going to spend, and hence I have only this much left to save. It's the very, I think, let's live it by the day kind of concept, and I kind of also feel that it's valid at this given point in time with the kind of last 2 years that the world has seen with the pandemic. Like, we never know what's going to happen. I mean, not to bring the momentum down, but I think that it's a valid, because it always happens that the older generations are blaming the Gen Zs and the Gen Ys, and they are just spending unreasonably. But I also sometimes feel that I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years. I may as well make the most of whatever I have right now. So I think it's a valid point. Moving now more into a little bit of details into Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X as well. What we spoke about habits. We spoke about they like to buy accessories, or they like to buy small purchases, and eventually they graduate to the bigger ones. Let's talk about average price. So let's do like maybe a small exercise, or maybe just something between you and me, that where we talk about certain categories, and we you give me your experiences based on what you've seen happening. That if I talk about bags, because I think again bags is a very relatable category, and our audiences will relate to it. Every boy and girl buys a bag out there for themselves or for someone. So what are the average prices that we're looking at when it comes to luxury brands? And how is the luxury pyramid for the Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X? How is it? What are the average prices of each of these target consumers, and also maybe the old consumers as well, the ones which are way before, you know.
Yeah. So I think the older customers definitely spending a lot more. You're looking at hefty $1,500 to $2,500. You're looking at that price bucket. The newer customers anywhere between $300 to $600. And when I say $600, it's not a small amount yet. We're talking about 50,000 rupees or 55,000, 60,000 rupees handbags in some cases. That's because again, it's the money they've earned, and like we said, they like to live now for the moment. Might as well spend it.
Like it's like a month's rent, right?
Yes.
In some cases,
Yes.
like 50,000 rupees is 1 month rent in a city like Mumbai as well.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that the Gen Y and Gen Z are spending that kind of money when it comes to certain brands.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So certain brands are definitely spending, and it's also they want the brand. They want to carry that brand. That's the brand they want to start with. That's what they want to start with and move on to the other. So it starts at that $500, $600, then slowly inclines, little.
Okay,
the older they
spend
get,
50,000. I'm getting
50, now I
something
can do 80.
for 70, 80.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right, and then it'll be 80. Then it becomes a lakh. Then it becomes a lakh and a half. And then it becomes 2 lakhs. So that's the gradual move for handbags. And people didn't spend that kind of money for footwear. But people are spending that kind of money for footwear now as well. I mean, we can speak about Onitsuka Tiger. We have a starting price point of footwear at about 7,000 rupees now. And our exit price point of footwear is 40,000 rupees. And in the same store, for a pair of sneakers. So we are talking about the same store where you have 7,000 and you have 40,000, and I have customers which are purchasing both. So you have the younger lot who's going around for about 7,000 to 50,000 rupee price point, and they're getting 15,000 and it's okay. And then I've seen.
But are you seeing the same person who bought a 7,000 one coming next time for a 10,000 or a 15,000?
We have seen that. So I mean, the business has been in India for about 7 odd years now. So in 7 years we have seen that transition. So we've seen somebody who had first job and bought the first pair of Onitsuka Tiger at 7,000, and we've had come to our stores probably a year later and spend 10,000, and we are seeing the same customer come today and spend 25,000.
Wow.
And we are hoping that they come back another 5 years and they get to the point where they are buying in the higher price point as well, which is 40,000.
And I've seen this kind of happening around my circle, that when one member of the family is wearing an Onitsuka Tiger, all the members of the family will have the tendency to wear an Onitsuka Tiger or a better, whatever they consider a similar brand. Does that happen? That you have one person and then the family starts shopping for
a lot. So this is what we always said, that apart from the influential marketing campaigns we do, I always tell our team that the first person that influences within is friends and family. If you can get those people to influence what they're doing, the brand is doing what they need to do, it's a successful story. The product has done the job. That's when the product's done the job, you can bring in the marketers and you can bring in the social influencers to take it forward and then spread the word. But we've seen a lot where the whole family, and I'll give you my own example, my whole family, it's just that I work for the brand, but I have friends and friends' families. I have a friend who I probably gifted something, and then their families are now buying the shoes. So it does happen more than you think.
Wow.
And it is not just about entry price point of 7,000-8,000. You're talking about products which are also 15,000, products which are also 30,000. And we are seeing that a lot happening as well in family, within family and within friends.
So I mean, India is a land of everything we do it together. It's like that philosophy goes a long way.
Yes.
Coming more now towards India and occasions, festivities, this, that. We spoke a lot about the consumers, but we want to know how is India consuming luxury, right?
Yeah.
So I would also want to discuss a little bit about what are brands doing to ensure that the customers are buying repeatedly, or the customers are buying repeatedly for the consumers or for themselves. Are there some special things that are happening in this market because we want to give a certain kind of sentiment or certain kind of message, because we know that we need to do that here because it's going to only work here and we can't do this elsewhere?
Okay.
right? So is something like
it's a
that.
constant debate about this. It's my favorite conversation. I do have this conversation with a lot of people. When you are a global brand and you're trying to make it global brand, or you're trying to make it a little local, sometimes brands kind of misunderstand the approach to how to market or how to be available in a different country or region, because they get confused and they want to cater to everybody.
Yeah,
it is not easy to do that. You cannot culturally cater to every single person, especially in a country like India. We are a country which is divided by 4 regions.
Yes,
you go north, south, east, west.
absolutely.
The way we consume is very different that from the north or from the south. So culturally, to adapt to the local requirements for a lot of brands, it can get very confusing, and then you lose your brand's DNA. Global brands lose their voice, and it gets confusing. So a brand like ours, what we always keep in mind is that yes, we are a Japanese brand, but we want to keep a global voice, so not become very cultural Japanese. The craftsmanship is there, the legacy is there, the history is there, but we don't want to make it more gimmicky. And when we go to a country like India, we don't want it to become gimmicky either. So we don't want to pick on the Indian cultures and become adapting to Indian cultures. That said, of course, a great collaboration with a great Indian designer is something that would be
and
look forward
interesting
to. And mixing these cultures together to make it a exclusive, short-term, limited project. But then you can't adapt a brand completely to the region, because that kind of takes away a lot of thought processes of the brand is, and then it no longer remains that global brand, and it's just like.
This is also a message for all those entrepreneurs out there who are planning to launch their own startups or already launched. You can't lose your own voice, is what you're saying basically. You have to be more neutral or more maintain your own essence and try to cater to everyone in a very I would say non-biased manner, which is important. Let's talk also a little bit about how do we buy products. Do we go to the stores? Are we buying them online? Again, I think I would say footwear is something that I wouldn't want to buy online, because I would want to go to the store. Because I've also seen in my own case that no two brands have the same sizes, and I've had difficulty with that, and a lot of my friends also have had difficulties with that. Like, I'm a size bigger when I'm buying a closed shoe, and a size smaller when it's an open shoe and whatnot. So I prefer to wear it and then purchase it. What's been your...
And to add to that, you do know that our body anatomy, like, we are 2 different sizes. So we are not the same size left and right foot. So it's always good to try. That said, our online business is thriving. It's successful. We've seen it. Again, it depends from a brand and how you are positioning the brand.
Would you be comfortable telling us what percentage is online and what percentage is offline?
Our total business currently, 35% of our business is online.
Wow.
And the rest from offline stores. But then you be mindful that we are only 9 stores in India, so it's not like we are spread
nevertheless,
over.
so people are buying
footwear online.
And where all is Onitsuka available online?
So currently we are on our own brand.com, so our own website. We're also available on Tata Click Luxury, and we're available on MGLuxM. So we are available on 3 platforms online at the moment. So 3 online versus 9 and 35% business. So it's quite a big business for us.
Yeah, it is.
But you said, it's a tricky thing. Sizing is tricky when it comes to footwear, because not every brand has same sizing.
Exactly.
But I would give you a little sneak advice. Normally, footwear works best if you know your centimeters. So if you know what centimeter footwear you wear, then it is irrelevant whether you are a UK 5 or a US 6. Find out your centimeters, get it by centimeters.
And the centimeter, like the big toe.
Your foot, entire base of your foot is 1 centimeter. So you're 24 centimeters, 26 centimeters, because the 26 will remain 26. Your Euro and US size may change, or UK size may change, but the centimeters won't change.
Got it.
So that's advice.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. So, I mean, wonderful, that's a very nice, I would say, cheat code or whatever you want to call it for shopping online. Measure your foot in centimeters, not inches. So, yeah, that's wonderful. So, yeah, I mean, apart from footwear, I know that you have a lot of people within the luxury industry working in different categories. How would you compare this with maybe beauty, the online versus offline, this with fashion, and let's see, this with I mean, when I say beauty, I'm covering skincare, fragrances, everything. And I think one very interesting category which I have seen evolve recently is home decor segment.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on online versus offline?
So when we speak of online, I think beauty and skincare is something very safe, because what happens is your first purchase is always at stores.
Yeah.
You've tested it, you've tried it, you're not changing your foundation every year, you're not changing your foundation days every time the bottle is over.
Yeah.
You re-buy the same bottle.
Yeah.
The benefit of cosmetic is also they don't have sizes. So, you're not concerned with what sizes you have to purchase. You're buying something that you already know what you want. It's the safest when people are buying, because there are successful businesses right now online when it comes to Indian grown businesses or international businesses. All are doing fabulous. Skincare as well, your first purchase may not be online. The first purchase is usually in stores and then transitioning into online purchases. Your self-care, hair, shampoo, you're not changing very often. You bought one, you're just rebuying into it, right? So that online is safe. When we're talking about fashion, I think apparel still has a little hesitance when it comes to luxury shopping online, but accessories not as much. So people are buying their handbags online. People are purchasing good investments on luxury platforms like Ajio or Tata Click Luxury, and they do have brands which are not easily available in India.
And also, I think because as Indians, we like to compare, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we like to have plan A and plan B, and then now we let me see which one is more attractive and appealing.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as a person, I may not want to talk to someone at the store and then understand from them, then go to another store. I'm just getting all that information online. So I mean, that makes sense.
We are also a shopper, as culturally we are not very talkative when we go to stores. When you're offline stores and somebody approaches you by saying, hi, welcome to our store, you're just like, oh, I'm just browsing, and we walk away. So that's how just we shop. So online, when it comes to luxury, it's become easier because it's less intimidating. When you go to a luxury store, you don't know what that person's going to think.
I was actually just coming to that.
It's less intimidating.
Watch an Indian in a grocery store. Just see how much they talk, and then you see that same person in a Gucci store.
No.
And they will not want to communicate at all. They just have their arms crossed, and I think it's also the environment, right? Like I know this is at the back of my hand.
I've been doing this day in and day out every day since I was born, or since my mother taught me. But she's never taught me to go to Gucci store and buy a bag. That I've learned on my own. So there's a bit difference. Like groceries you're buying like that versus luxury. You're buying for yourself. Or you're buying for somebody else, which is for purpose. It's not something.
And I also think that to a certain extent, it's also to do with the whole privacy. When I'm buying, I don't want to be bothered because when I'm probably buying groceries, I'm in a chatty mood. I'm whatever. But when I'm buying a bag, it's a sacred time for me. I'm buying it for my wife or my husband or my whoever, and I don't want to be bothered by you. I don't want to give you information whom I'm buying it for. It's for me, So I think it's also that we like to share, but we don't like to share everything, So that is important. I think.
And accessibility, like you said, we like to compare. Now, unfortunately, the way infrastructure in India is, we don't have malls where we have all access of all luxury brands under one roof. You have one mall in Delhi, one mall in Mumbai, and that's about it. And then not all brands are easily accessible at these malls. So you do end up looking online, you do end up comparing what you want, because the availability and the options become wider than the options that are available currently with the current infrastructure we have. We have very limited luxury premium malls, and it's going to take some time till that develops. Like, you have tier 1 luxury malls in tier 1 cities, that's about it. But wealthiest people live in tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities.
I think what my next question to you was going to be, in fact, that within these cities where there is a presence of these brands
Yeah.
in the malls, are the people who are actually shopping from these malls belonging to those cities, or do we have people coming from different cities to a particular city to buy those products, or to look at those products and then make a purchase online, or order it from the brand and then have it delivered to their houses? How does it happen?
So that one is it's combination of both. You
Okay.
have these wealthy family money in these cities. We're
And
talking
they are
about Delhi,
called
Mumbai.
Khandani Rais, just to
Yes.
let you know.
So you do have the Khandani
Whole
Rahis
family.
in Delhi and Mumbai, and they have already shopped, they already own it. These are the people who are traveling more than other Indians. These are the people who have access to luxury outside of India as well. So those guys do shop, of course, because it's an impulse purchase, it's a purchase they want. But the thought purchases, the process and digestive purchase, buying luxury is what you collect, you think, you review, you purchase, and then you consume. It's a process for very different customer and consumer. So these people are actually researching, going to the stores, experiencing, coming back, researching furthermore, and then probably purchasing either online or from the stores.
Yeah.
But you do have a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 consumers going to these cities and purchasing. Main reason for brands not to open into tier 2 cities or tier 3 cities right now is purely because of infrastructure and the availability of new malls being there. And unfortunately, if you look at global brands, or if you look at global brands outside of India, you will see that a lot of these luxury brands are not within malls.
Yeah, they have
are
standalone
high
stores.
streets.
Yeah.
So when global brands do want to open India, we don't have that kind of infrastructure.
Also because
to have high streets.
you can't give the same kind of an experience in a mall what you can give in a standalone store, you know.
Correct.
The experience is already cut off by 40% because of the mall access and
Yes.
everything. But I want to ask you one question. Like you said about these people coming from tier 2, tier 3. Which are these cities? Could we have some?
Yes, you have a lot of these cities growing. You have Ahmedabad is Ahmedabad being the next big luxury and high price point shopping cities.
Wow. Okay.
You do have Ludhiana and Jalandhar in north. You also have luxury consumptions coming from Hyderabad, the next big city.
Which I've heard a lot about.
Yes, so Hyderabad is going to be the next big Bombay or Bangalore.
Wow.
Is what it's said when it comes to consumer luxury shopping. So these are the next cities to look out for sure when it comes to luxury shopping outside of the tier cities. Tier cities are nothing but growing. So tier 1 cities, Bombay, Delhi, these are nothing but just constantly growing when it comes to luxury consumption.
Wow. And you see this happening for the next 10, 20 years?
Easy.
Or like
Easy.
This is going to keep multiplying,
This
growing.
is just the growth, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been talking about this. Everybody talks about this, that India is the next big market, India is the next big market. But we've actually not seen the realization, we've not actually arrived there. We are still just growing. We're just starting to see this. You talk about the other sector.
And it's not like India is not going to be a pit stop.
No.
Luxury brands have to come here, settle down.
Yeah.
It's a long haul, basically.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes, like because people say we are the second populated country after China. But at the same time, we are not consuming like China, especially luxury. Luxury is consumed. China is one of the biggest countries that's consuming luxury.
So
at
what
the
do you
highest
mean
rate.
by we are not consuming like China? Like in what way?
The volume. The volume that China is. Even though when we are being compared to China with the population, right? Like every brand's talking about that next generation. Every brand's talking about India as the next digital country. Like people are shopping on apps. But there's 4% or 5% of that team who's actually shopping that luxury, right? But that 4% is large number itself of the big number we have. So people may think it's only 4%, it's only 5%, but that bit 4 and 5 is quite big for us.
Very huge number, absolutely.
Yeah.
As consumers, are Indians loyal?
Indians loyal? I'm sorry.
Are we loyal consumers?
Are we loyal consumers?
Are we brand
specific
loyal?
brands or just
like to specific brands?
Because
I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on this topic. Like some people say that yes, we don't like to shift much because once we found our brand, and I think to a certain extent I kind of agree to that. But I would like to have your thoughts on that.
So I would say this from my perspective, from where the way I've seen or worked in the last couple of years in the industry, or I've seen customers shop. the loyalty does come for a certain price point in a certain category.
Okay.
But when we are talking about pure luxury and we are crossing the benchmark of 40,000, 50,000 rupees, I think consumers right now are still experimenting.
They like to evaluate.
Yes, and they're experimenting. So they are buying one brand. When it comes to perfume, cosmetic, of course, it's loyalty. But when it comes to handbags, it's still new for them, right? Like they've just been exposed to these brands and they are experimenting what is their voice. And we are talking about customers are much younger today. So they found their voice, they're just starting to find their voice.
So when, as a consumer, as an Indian consumer, when the brand goes above that sweet price point, you know, like it's above 40,000, let's say, for a bag, what could I do as a brand to ensure that my customer stays with me? What are those enticing features or benefits or whatever you want to call it? Like, what message would you like to give to the budding entrepreneurs? What should I do as a brand when I want to raise my price point? I don't want to stay within that sweet spot, but I want to maintain my consumer loyalty.
So I think it's the newness that the customer looks for, and I think a lot of brands sometimes lose that newness because they are just constantly either updating what they have rather than bringing something new. And I think innovation is what I think will keep that loyalty as well. Because also, you know, if you've bought a brand and if you bought a logo, you want more. And if you want more of the same brand, then you have to give something more. But at the same time, the customers, you know, are not buying as frequently now, especially after COVID. They are buying better. They are spending more on something rather than buying more of a lot of things. So because they are buying better, they are decluttering.
Indians are decluttering.
So they are buying more, better quality and not quantity. So when that happens, they're going to shop less than what they used to shop. They're not going to go to stores for loyalty. When we talk about this loyalty, then becomes loyalty maybe longer period, but better quality and innovative products.
Interesting.
That's what I think brands should do.
No, I agree, because I think for me as well, I would want to stick to a brand which is giving me a surprise element every time. I think apart from that, as a customer, when I think of it, I definitely would want deals. When I say deals, I don't mean, you know, flash discounts, and I don't expect a luxury brand to give me that, but some benefit, you know, something doesn't hurt them to give me some small giveaway or something of that sort. Or I think even newness in the way they're communicating to me, like not just newness in the product, but in the campaign, in the messaging. Are you being more inclusive? Are you being more careful? Are you being more conscious? Are you being more clear in what you're saying? Are you caring for the environment, for the people, for the animals, everything? I think this is also important, not just the newness in the product. And there are some amazing Indian brands which are doing all of these things and doing it brilliantly, you know. I think that apart from this particular, you know, these industries that we spoke about, one industry that I really wanted to speak to you about was home decor. And I've seen home decor in the last, I would say, since COVID actually. It's I don't know what's happened, but I think people have just been buying things for their houses and making it more beautiful, and because that I think we are still living in that hybrid mode. We're working from home, and we need a little bit of a home feel, office feel at home, and then we want like a chill, you know, space at home, and then we want, you know. So how is this industry boomed according to you, and which are the typical consumers who have helped with the boom?
So of course home decor has been quite a bit, especially after COVID, because we spent so much time at home, and we did realize that this is our space and we want to feel a certain way in that space. We used to elope to malls and entertainment centers. If not malls, we used to elope to restaurants and cafes and lounges and spend 8 hours at Starbucks or any other cafe, for example. And that became our space. And what did we like about it? The plants there, the chair there, the sofa there, and the cushions there.
Even the carpet.
The carpet and the rugs and the
candles.
mugs and the candles and the candle holders. So these are the things we absorbed. And while we were at home for 3 months, we saw that we need to get better at how we live. So of course that is one part. But the second part, you also have to understand that real estate is a very booming luxury business in India right now. So people are buying homes. And when we're talking about homes, these are homes in, you know, take Ahmedabad for example, amazing architectural firms in Ahmedabad building beautiful homes in Ahmedabad, and they're minimal and simple, but their furnishing is good quality. Like they no longer want to do compromising. They no longer want to compromise on the kind of home decor they have. They're spending enough because that's now their space. Because of real estate, home decor is also booming. Because of COVID, home decor is also booming. There are multiple factors to it.
I mean, for me, the biggest way, I would say the easiest way that I noticed this was all of these platforms that were earlier selling only fashion now have a section of home. So your Myntra, your Ajio, your Tata, they're all selling home decor and what brands and what collections, not just like few things. They're selling everything and they're all selling plants. Most of them, I think, post-COVID, your air purifying, category of, buying those kind of plants or even plants for gifting has increased in how. And, I noticed that, there has to be some logic behind it.
So from a personal experience, we just moved our office from one location to another. We redid our office. And when we moved there, we were absolutely okay up until 5 years ago to have a cubicle, a very monotonous space with grids and boxes and a shelf and then the name that reads out on a chair and a computer. And when we moved to this new office, me and my entire team, what we are thinking is how many plants can we put here? What can we make this space to be more homely? And it was not the case before. We were very okay going to office and having our own cubicle and sitting there because we were getting away from home. Versus what it has become now is that we're trying to bring home to
I
office.
want the same environment in both the places.
Correct.
That's what
homely environment. I want it comfortable.
I don't want to compromise on my like for me as well. I have a particular type and size of mug that I use to drink coffee at home, and I brought it here with me at office. So these are small things, but I think these matter, right? So
it's the way we live, it's a lifestyle. It's coming back to how we wake up, how we want to work, what we want to do, how we want to end our day. We want to come home to a nice home. We want to be feeling homely.
I mean, as a last thought, or as some parting thoughts. Who, if I just have to ask you to reply to me in one sentence, who are the Indian luxury consumers? Who, as in what age groups or professions do they belong to? In a nutshell, you can just keep it very crisp. And how are they consuming luxury?
So I wouldn't define it definitely in an age group, but I will tell you it's a lot younger. It's definitely younger, definitely women. It is the young woman who is earning a lot more than what they were earlier. And what they are consuming is pure lifestyle, from where she dines, where she stays, what she wears, and what she carries to put that money that she's just earned, and on what she wants. So it's area of sectors, but I would definitely say it's a younger woman. It's more women than the men, because for the longest, and now it's more than a sentence, I know, but I just want to
no, I'm loving it because I think it's very accurate. It's very accurate, so it's great.
So for longest time, luxury shopping in India was cars, watches, and houses. And women were not buying these cars, women were not buying the houses, and women were not buying those watches. Which has completely changed of what we are today when it comes to luxury. So there you go.
And where are these women purchasing it more? I know it's a difficult question to literally put, but I mean, in your experience and the conversations that you had, are they going more to malls? Are they going more to standalone stores? Are they going more to brand.coms? Are they going more to social media? Are they going more to apps?
I would say it would be both to the stores and online. So
it's
an online for us, it's considered to be kind of a same channel or distribution when we speak about it. So app or online and offline stores both. The new customer we talk about, the younger new lot, is definitely experiencing at store. So they are scouting, searching, researching, versus the customers who've already bought luxury historically or have some sense of luxury are okay purchasing online. And like I mentioned earlier, that the availability of products online today is far wider than it is at stores in India, especially purely because of lack of infrastructure and purely because of the lack of stores. of multi other brands.
And you know, a woman shopper, I mean, I don't mean to be sexist or anything, but I think she is far more picky and very calculative and also futuristic. Like, okay, I'm buying this now, but because I'm buying this now because I know in 3 months I want to buy this.
Yes, correct.
You know, so she's already thinking 3 months ahead.
Yeah.
So I think online is definitely a channel that cannot be missed and should not be missed. So yeah, absolutely. So it was
just adding to being picky. She's not picky. She's very sure. She's
True.
more sure. Like, she's far sure today than she was.
Yeah. So she
historically.
knows
So
what
she
she
knows
wants,
exactly
and
what
there's
she
no
wants.
compromise.
There's no
Basically,
compromise.
I like that. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. So absolutely. So yes. Any other messages or any other leaving thoughts for our audience?
Sure. I mean, luxury is a very big subject, and also Indian customers is a very big subject as well. Like I said, India is divided into 4 parts. We're a large country. How we consume luxury varies from one part to the other part of the country. But it is definitely a growing business. It's definitely, especially we have to look out for the new generation, Gen Z we speak about. And they will be purchasing online is one channel that we should look out for. And a lot of luxury brands are on their way to India, so definitely look out for those brands.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and as Grishma said, and like I always say, there's a lot of room here for a lot of young talents, and I think this is an industry that cannot be missed, should not be missed. It's a very good space to be in. It's a small community of people, very well connected. Anybody and anybody who wants to work in luxury should have a passion. Watch our podcast. Many more to go, I'm sure. So yeah, thank you so much for watching us, and stay tuned for the next episode.